Good evening and welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host, Sam Oney, and this is episode 6. With me today is Wes Spearman. Wes, how are you this evening?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, Sam. Four races into this F1 season now, and getting a bit repetitive. Verstappen, not Verstappen. Um, Decent-ish race in Suzuka, I thought. But yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Um, yeah, Japanese Grand Prix. The first time it's been moved up in the F1 calendar. Normally it would be in the autumn time, but F1 wanna, be what's it called? Carbon,
Sustainable, carbon
yeah,
neutral.
sustainable. Yeah, by 2030. So it's, fourth on the grid. But yeah, um, Japanese Grand Prix, Verstappen on the podium again. What do you make of the race?
I thought it was all right. It was, I think, perhaps better than a couple of others this season. For me, I think Norris was sort of made the race, if you like. There were quite a few battles with him and the Mercedes in particular, a bit of a battle with Sainz as well at one point. Um, for me, I think Norris was my driver of the day. I think Leclerc get it in the end. I know Tsunoda got quite a few votes as well.
Who was
To
my
be fair,
driver of the day?
Tsunoda, Tsunoda drove a pretty good race. His first
Yeah.
points in his home race, the Yuki Tsunoda. Um, Overall, I mean, it was okay, I guess. So Verstappen won by, I think, just under 13 seconds in the end. Perez won two. As we were mentioning briefly off air, it's the first time in an F1 season where the first four races have all been 1-2s. Obviously, three of them within Red Bull, and then obviously Ferrari got that 1-2 out in Australia. It's the first time in F1 history that's happened. Um, which is it good history? Is it bad history? Who knows? I mean, if that keeps carrying on and we just get through an entire season of Red Bull 1-2s with that anomaly in Australia, then it might not be the greatest record in F1 history. Um, it will be for Red Bull, maybe not so much for us fans watching it, but yeah, it was. As I say, the race was okay. There were a few battles here and there, but again, nothing really major. I suppose the most major thing was the collision between Ricardo and Albon on the opening lap because the race,
Yeah.
the red flag. What did you think of that incident? Was anyone at fault for that, do you think?
Um, I think coming into it, Ricciardo, I think I would probably say he was maybe at fault because he did have space on the left hand side, and coming into that turn, he kind of blocked off Albon. So I can kind of see where people are saying that Ricciardo could have been at fault there.
Yeah, I think Stroll was trying to like come alongside Ricardo's inside, so his left hand side, and then yeah, I mean, was Albon a bit too ambitious trying to go round the outside into turn three?
Mm,
Maybe, but the space was there for Albon. And then, as you say, Ricardo sort of cuts across a bit. Um, yeah, it's not been the greatest start to the season for Daniel Ricciardo. I've seen a lot of memes around sort of Liam Lawson sort of lurking in the background, trying to ready to jump in if Ricardo does get jettisoned from RP. And Helmut Marko, we sort of know what he's like. He's a bit hot-headed sometimes, so
mm,
it could happen. Maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I've seen people say, "Oh, it's Ricardo's fault. He moved over," but did he have much space to go with Stroll coming up on the inside? Maybe not. I probably sort of like 65% Ricardo's fault with the rest racing incident. I think Albon was entitled to the space that he went for, but did Ricardo have anywhere to go? I'm not so sure, but it's a shame for those two because they could have been fighting for points this weekend. And Ricardo had a poor start, which if he had a good start, then they might have he might have raced to the end. But obviously it was to be for those two this weekend.
Yeah. I also we highlighted that Norris did well during the race, but also I wanted to highlight Yuki Tsunoda because as you mentioned, he got a point in his home race. I was very impressed when with his overtakes, especially the one where during the pit lane where there were a bunch of drivers, fit on their pit exits, and then Sonoda, I think he pitted towards the end, and because he's closer to the exit, um, maybe he just got ahead of everyone else, and I think that overtake was, very. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, I can't actually remember that one. I remember, I think near the end of the race, there were like six drivers all pitting at the same point. So you had,
Yeah, maybe
um,
it was that
wh
one. Sorry.
where is it in
Yeah.
my notes? So you had Bottas, Magnussen, Sargent, Tsunoda, and Stroll all coming into the pit within like 5 seconds of each other. They're almost a couple of collisions there, but yeah, Tsunoda got out of that unscathed, and as I mentioned earlier, his first points in a Japanese Grand Prix in his home race. So and look at where did he qualify actually? Qualified P10, so held onto position, but he was under pressure um, from likes of Bottas, Ocon a bit earlier on, and I think I saw him in P14 or something at one stage. So notice, so yeah, for him to come to climb back to P10 is yeah not too bad of an outing for his home Grand Prix.
So, how would you rate the race in Suzuka?
Still probably not rate it that highly. I think it was probably better than some of the others we've seen this season, as I mentioned. So I'll probably give it a five, just on the base that it wasn't as dull as some of the others. It still wasn't a great race. There weren't that many battles. Like I know we mentioned a bit about Norris and Mercedes and Piastri as well. But there weren't really any sort of multi-lap battles, if that makes sense. There was a bit towards the end with Piastri and Russell, which was quite entertaining. Russell tried to go down the inside of, I think it's the Casio chicane, the last chicane before the home straight. But Piastri held onto the position, then a lap or two later went a bit wide and allowed Russell through. That's the only really sort of main battle I can think of. So, I mean, Verstappen, it was pretty much another walk in the park. Nobody really challenged him. Two good starts off the line, and anyway, he went a second clear by the end of the first lap, pretty much, or the first lap of the restart, rather. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for me. There were a few promising moments, but nothing amazing for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Nothing really stood out in that race. Um, but you have to say, there were some drivers and teams who, you know, didn't perform well or just didn't have a great weekend. For example, Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton. What just seems to be the problem? Is it the car or the driver? Well, you can't really. Well, not being biased, but I don't think how it's Hamilton. That's the problem. But yeah, if your car's not working, then you know.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two. I mean, obviously Mercedes aren't as good as they have been. That's just a fact. They've not been the same they were since 2021 was their last good season, where obviously you had that insane battle with Hamilton and Verstappen. Um, but then we've been so used to Mercedes dominance since what 2014, 15, pretty much, where Hamilton's won everything, Rosberg in 2016. Um, and now it's Red Bull's turn to have their dominance again, like they had with Vettel for his 4 years. Um, but yeah, it's just the way that they're not even challenging Red Bull at the moment. It's Ferrari were the closest contenders to Red Bull, and Mercedes are almost battling for best of the rest sometimes. Like the McLarens are well up in there, battling for podiums, like we saw Norris these last few weekends. Those two real scrapping it out for like those fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth spots. As I say, the best of the rest, pretty much, if you like. Um, And yeah, the way Hamilton, I wouldn't say threw in the towel early on, but lap 13 it was when he asked Mercedes if they want to swap the cars, if they want to get Russell ahead of him. When Hamilton, I think, qualified seventh, Russell ninth, and then to the end of the race, it was those positions were switched with Hamilton ninth and Russell seventh. Um, so yeah, whether he's down on confidence, whether he just can't get to grips with the car. But I mean, he's what 41 years old, Hamilton, or is he 39? He's getting close to he's either side
He's
of
close.
40.
He's close to
One
40. I can say that.
I
Yeah.
can't. Hang on, I've got his Wikipedia page up, so I'm looking up total career points every, isn't I? He is 39 years old. He's
Yeah.
only recently turned 39 in January, so doing doing Sir Lewis a bit of a disservice there by calling him 41 already. Um, but yeah, as I say, whether he's just not getting used to the car, whether dare I say it, he's past it, if I can say that,
Mm.
past his prime. Um, yeah, I'm not so sure, but yeah, I mean, Mercedes as a whole hasn't been great the last few years. It's not just Hamilton. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Russell has their most recent race win, but it's only one race win in what 3 seasons,
Mm.
and I don't see them getting another race win this season at all. So, yes, as I say, it's not just Hamilton, but it's Mercedes as a whole. Something isn't quite right, and I don't think it will be quite right until we get the new regulations in what 2 years' time.
Well, well. Now you said that, it brings me on to my next question. Do you think Mercedes are going to use the rest of this season, 2024, and 2025 as a transition, uh, a sort of try and improve the car kind of season to get ready for 2026 when the regulations come in? Because when those regulations come in, they best hope that it's not a repeat of last year or 2022, 2022.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, I think, because this year Mercedes are so close with McLaren. They'll want to keep developing this year's car and do the same next year. But I mean, with the new regulations, then they sort of start again from scratch. They start from a clean slate, if you like. So interesting to see which teams um, sort of interpret them the best, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
obviously, with the new regs in 22, Red Bull have clearly nailed it. They're the fastest team by miles. And as I said earlier, Mercedes just haven't done that. But yeah, given how close the battle is with McLaren, Mercedes don't want to finish fourth in the constructors. They want to finish as high up as they can. And if Mercedes do just sort of call it quits almost on this year's car and go like, right, this season's gone, focus on next year's, then they're sort of giving McLaren a free third place in the constructors, if you like.
Would
Um,
you be surprised if they called it quits for this season? Because I
yeah,
don't. Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they didn't fight McLaren until the end because I think that is their biggest rival now, isn't it? Really, because
Yeah.
Ferrari, I think, are too quick for them. Red Bull are miles too quick, but they're not as slow as like an Aston Martin, for example. They're not as slow as Haas, Alpine, Sauber, any of the other teams, really. So McLaren is their biggest contender, and they'll want to fight, as I say, they'll want to fight that third place in the constructors. They want to fight those what fifth, sixth, seventh places in the drivers' standings as well. So yeah, they might not develop their car as much as they perhaps would have done if they had a good car to start with. But yeah, they certainly won't want to lose out any points to McLaren, that's for sure.
Well, we can only hope that Mercedes can improve the car as much as they can, and there's still a long way to go this season. We've only had 4 races, and there's still at least another 18, well, 20 races left, if you like. Um, but let's finish off with one man who, if you have to describe him, I'd say longevity is the word. You know, uh, that being two two-time F1 champion Fernando Alonso, who, as of a few hours ago, he extended his deal with Aston Martin until 2026, and we're gonna see him, continue racing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, quite like that. Fernando's carrying on for another couple of years. I think he's still a fantastically talented driver, even though he'll be 44, 45 by the end of his contract at the end of 2026. Whether we'll call it quits then, maybe. That is getting quite old for a professional driver. Um, he's not the oldest to compete in F1. I mean, all the records for oldest drivers date back to the 50s when F1 was in its infancy and not as professional as it is now. But Nando, he still holds the record for most entries into F1, 384, the most starts, 381. Um, he's got the not third, eighth most, sorry, most consecutive race entries, 219. Um, I'm just looking at scrolling through the Wikipedia F1 records now. Most races with a single manufacturer, that being Renault. Um, seventh most total wins with 32. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to find the career points one as well because I'm pretty sure Hamilton has the record for that. But Fernando's career points over his however many years in F1 over his 381 starts is 2,291. And obviously, he's raced in different eras of sort of point systems. So in a race where like the top eight got points and no points for a fastest lap, race
Issues.
win was worth fewer points as well. Probably about half of his career, I reckon, roughly. Um, and obviously, we've been used to 25 points for a race win. Top 10 will get points for the last 10, 15 years, I reckon. But I'm enjoying seeing Fernando Alonso on the grid because I mean he's leading that Aston Martin team incredibly well. Was battling it out for what, a fifth and sixth at one point this weekend in Japan, or last weekend in Japan rather. Um, yeah, I mean the way he started, 2023 with top five positions pretty regularly, shows he's still got it even when he's driving for a midfield team. So yeah, looking forward to see what he can do for the next couple of years now.
I'm excited to same. I'm excited to see what he can do. Um, you know, maybe get one or two race wins somewhere. Um, yeah, it's just great to have him around. He's got that experience. That racecraft. He knows how to win races. He knows how to win championships. So it'll be great to have him. Sticking around. Like before signing the contract, there was talk about where he was gonna go. Red Bull was flying up in the air. There's an open seat for Mercedes for 2025. There's still a question of who's gonna go there, but he's decided to stick with.
They're in a F1 car outside your house. I
You
didn't
know,
hear that
I
on your
just
microphone.
I've just had a really monstrous engine just drive fast on the road. So yeah, that's the brief stop. Where was I? Oh, um,
Alonso
sorry.
winning races and championships.
Yeah, Alonso winning races and championships, and a lot of names uh popping up, but he's decided to stay at Aston Martin, which is great to see. But yeah, so well, we seem to have come to the end to another episode of the F1 Stop show. Uh, what are you excited to see next week when the Chinese Grand Prix comes around? Just a little snippet. What you excited about?
I'm excited to see China back on the calendar. It's obviously been a few years away for COVID and some other reasons, I think. So yeah, looking forward to see what China can throw up. I think typically it's not been the most exciting track, but that turn one is one of that first sort of snail section, that first sector is, I think, one of the best spectacles in Formula One. You have all the cars going around almost like a loop, if you like. Um, say like a snail shell. Looks fantastic, and Ricardo's got a decent record there. So we're looking to see what if he can grab some points. Yeah, just hope for some more battles. I keep hoping for that every week. It's like I'm a broken record saying I want more battles, but that's what we need. These four races haven't been that exciting, if I'm honest. So yeah, if China can throw up some more battles, a battle for the race lead maybe. If not, I'll settle for some battles in the midfield. So yeah, hopefully China brings some more excitement to this year.
Yes, indeed, and we're all looking forward to it. So the Chinese Grand Prix, I believe, is next weekend. So this has been another episode of the F1 Stop Show, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye bye, and it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye bye.
And we'll see you next time for the Chinese Grand Prix.